If there is one part of New Zealand which appears to be having an especially passionate love affair with the sport of basketball just at the moment, and it's a most unlikely place, given the fact that it is one of the great provincial bastions of New Zealand rugby, it's this town, New Plymouth. It's hard to imagine, given the proud tradition and great strength of rugby in Taranaki, that any winter sport especially could rival rugby for popularity. But apparently that's what's happened. New Plymouth has become a city besotted with its very successful National League team. It appears just about everyone, from the very young to the not so young, is into basketball in some shape or form. Patrons will queue outside the New Plymouth YMCA for hours on Saturdays, rain, hail or darkness, for a ticket to watch the home team play. It's been known that some fans queue for up to 6 hours, arriving here as early as 2 o'clock in the afternoon, just to make sure of a seat for a match that doesn't start until 8.
Best entertainment in New Plymouth.
Is that right, on a Saturday night?
Yep.
And how long do you have to stand in the queue?
Oh, anything up to 3 hours sometimes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You don't mind doing that?
Well, not for an international game like this.
Tell me, how often do you come to the basketball?
Every weekend it's here, mate.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And you've got a queue for tickets?
Yeah, It's disgusting.
And how long have you been in the queue for?
For about half an hour.
Is that basically what you have to do every week?
Yeah, it is.
Now, some people are telling me they have to queue here for hours, is that right?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yep, sure is.
Half of them got to be turned away.
There's lots of action.
It's just the atmosphere, yeah. It's a good game inside on a wet night on a Saturday night, I suppose.
For the home games, regardless of the opposition, the local YMCA is packed to the gunnels. While the fans are spilling in, coach of the home team, Californian Brent Fair, is underway with his bewilderingly technical team talk.
When we get down at the defensive end, down the forecourt, what we really got to make sure that we do is communicate and get back on those screens. And they run a lot of motion going from the weak side to the strong side. So make sure that if you're on that weak side and you're covering a guard that's up in the perimeter area, get way off and be ready to cover down. But we've got to help out if Welsh comes down the middle. Let's go to North Shore with a head of steam. Let's get ourselves up there where we want to be.
Concentration, guys. Concentration. Know what you're doing when you're supposed to do it. Concentrate out there.
We're playing our best basketball right now. Let's keep it right now. Game time. Here we go. Game phases.
Be together, be supportive. Box out, leave the refs alone. I'll handle the refs. Coach will handle the refs. Let's just play and play to our ability and get a win. All right? Let's go. Down. 1, 2, 3. Down!
Help down, help down.
Good job. Come on, Ollie.
Active
on, that's the one, Lou.
Weak side, Steve. Weak side, Steve.
Whoever claimed New Zealanders have difficulties showing emotion obviously hasn't visited the New Plymouth YMCA on a Saturday night.
Well, you know, there's no doubt that we have a lot of support. I think that the support, though, is something that it keeps the players going during the week. And, you know, there's a lot of pressure in this community. I remember earlier in the season after the Saints game, it wasn't a pretty week after our Waikato loss. You know, but the majority of them are behind you, win or lose, but there is a sense of pressure, and I think that that's good if it's channeled properly.
Even when the game is not especially close, you get the impression pandemonium could still break out here any moment. And one dubious refereeing decision is usually all it takes.
The buzzer went off before the foul. The buzzer went off before the foul. Hey, how can... These guys are looting. The buzzer went off before the damn foul.
I want the ball in the post. And I'm tired of asking.
These guys are sitting in
Well, listen. I should have come to you before the game, but some players tell me I shouldn't do this. Now, I'd like to advise you guys how we see calls. 3-second calls are being made this year. If the
3
guy,
seconds.
Listen. If the guy doesn't get the ball, he can't gain an advantage.
He's sitting in the call key for 5-6 seconds to call. That's the rule. This game's under protest, if that's the case.
Okay.
If that's the case, we're going to put this game under protest. The rule is that the guy is not allowed to sit in the key. He's in there 6-7 seconds. For Christ's sake. Bullshit. The call isn't being made this year. What the hell is he talking about?
You just referee the game to see it.
But sure, you're not affected by it?
Not at all.
But I mean, some of these guys seem really very abusive.
If they step over the line, then they'll get a technical.
Do you feel personally offended by what they say?
You don't hear it half the time. There's so much noise you can't hear what they're saying. You know their mouth's working, but you can't hear the words.
And it doesn't affect the way you referee the game?
Not at all.
If they become too heavy, would it not actually perhaps subconsciously work against them? If they become too critical and offensive?
If they step over the line, they'll get a technical foul, and that usually is the end of it. If they step over the line, you've got a point. There's the line, and if the toe goes over it, that's it.
Why do these fellas say the standard of refereeing in New Zealand is poor? Is it, in your opinion?
No, I think you've got to look at how New Zealand referees perform overseas. And internationally, our standard is as good as anywhere else.
Watching basketball coaches during a match, you could easily be forgiven for thinking the most important qualification for the job is proven experience as a Shakespearean actor.
For 6 or 7 seconds at a time. Can't you see that? Shit! How can you not see that?
Passion, energy and success are all part of the new Plymouth recipe for success.
I think it's the success aspect. If you're successful, then people want to support you, and it's as simple as that. And in the last few years, since we've made First Division, the Saturday night entertainment, or the best entertainment, is usually down at the YMCA, and that's a fact of life.
Okay, my thumbs are down. When I pass the ball, the thumbs come out, and I shoot the ball off my fingertips. Okay? So my thumbs are down, thumbs are coming out, right off your fingertips.
For all his courtside histrionics, Brent Fair is essentially a very quiet, mild-mannered Californian who lives his life for basketball and spends his weekdays travelling the Taranaki province, spreading the gospel.
Getting low, which is...
Well, I've never seen a place where there's more talent from top to bottom, especially here in Taranaki. You would expect me coming in from California, that's basically considered the hotbed of basketball on the West Coast, but look at the younger kids in the community. They all seem to want to bounce a basketball. I think one of the positive things that's happened this year, Brandon, is the fact that we have outdoor basketball courts coming up, and I think that that's one major weakness that I have seen in developing basketball throughout New Zealand, is that we don't really have a lot of the outdoor courts or gym time. Look around, it's difficult sometimes for people to find a place to play.
As the happy organist from the rafters of Wellington's Madgwick Stadium whips the capacity crowd into a frenzy, it must all seem like a fairy tale come true for those who can recall the sport's insignificant profile of a decade ago. In essence, it's your classic rags to riches success story. But some critics claim there's an element of artificiality about it all. The success of the league, they say, hinges entirely on the Americans. Take them away, and the entire basketball edifice would quickly collapse. They point to the neglect of New Zealand basketball at every level, and the obsession with the countrywide league, which they say is superficial hype propped up by temporary Americans.
Sure, I agree. I think it's totally manufactured. It's really superfluous to what the New Zealand Basketball Federation does in promotion. You've got a group of 10 teams with individual sponsorships totaling $100,000 each, recruited Americans to spice up the thing. I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever that it is artificial.
I don't know if it's artificial. These guys are here. Ben Anthony, Clyde Huntley, Angelo Hill. These guys live here. They're not Kiwis, but they do live here. They're not coming and going. There are a hard core of Americans that do live here, have lived here for 5 or 6 years.
I think simply it takes a lot of money to finance the Americans to come out here, so therefore the New Zealanders aren't making a lot of money out of the game. They're not
really improving. If you go back through each National League team now, you'll find 2 or 3 members that have been around for 10 to 15 years. There wouldn't be too many young players coming through.
Stan Hill was still playing now in the first division, seeing that he played last, he's playing in the second division at the moment, but he played in the early 1970s. He would be the dominant New Zealander now, even now. And there are a number of guards that I played with in 1969-70 who'd still do well in the countrywide league. So what you say is probably correct, that if you take the Americans away, it may be that the overall standard of the game has not improved tremendously. But having said that, without the Americans, the game simply wouldn't have the popularity it enjoys at the moment. So what do you do? I think it's a wee bit like the old English professional cricket situation, where you have all the imports dominating the thing, but without them, the game might be pretty dreary, and that's the problem.
In spite of the success of the Countrywide League, there are major problems facing basketball. The New Zealand Basketball Federation, for example, receives no money at all from the vast sponsorships poured into the National League. Even the reputed $150,000 sponsorship from Countrywide goes entirely to the clubs. The national men's team is languishing in limbo, and the sport seems desperately short of top-class coaches.
I think the Countrywide League has a phenomenal growth that nobody really ever anticipated. And I mean, I was involved in sort of the early stages as an observer. In fact, I've always been kind of an observer of the game rather than an actual official of anything. But from observation only 5, 6 years ago, we could never have anticipated something like this happening we're seeing here tonight. I mean, it was just, I think it's caught everybody by surprise, and everybody's saying, my God, what have we got here, and how do we integrate the whole thing, you see, including the national men's team. So while I don't think that the Countrywide League is hurting the men's team, I think it's a question of organization and coordination of different organizations so that they're working to complement each other rather than in head-on conflict, which has been a problem in the past.